I don't know who I'm just sending it out. Give me 1 second. There, I think I've sent it to enough people. Hello, hello. How are you? How are you? All righty. I'm going to share on this one as well. I'm live on multiple channels, so I'm just going to share it out on this channel as well. And then we'll hang out. And I'm not going to send it to too many people. Hello. How are you? How are you? I know I saw you like, oh yeah. How are you? I love seeing your content come up. I love like it's so, your connection is your connection and it's fantastic. I love the way that you talk about it. I've forgotten where I left off. Bah. We've shared it. I said whoever needs to hear will show up today, and those who aren't meant to hear, well, they're not missing anything. At least they won't think they are. And that's just perfect. So today I am going to be talking about a couple of different things, but to start with, I like to do the energy check-in with the cards, and those cards would be my own personal Etherian Tarot. So when it comes to this, I know, me too. Last year was very quiet. I don't know how many people in the spiritual community had that experience. It was 222 on the time there. Last year, I shed so many people, and it was like being in a void. It was so quiet, and everything that I put out, there was very little response to it. And I think I was putting out some pretty nice things, and yet it was just going into groups that nobody wanted to go in. It was weird. And yeah, my lives were just, trickles of people, and I don't know. It's starting to change for sure. I can feel that energetically, and I think that many of us can. And when I talk to other content creators, many of them in the same level that we're in, and I think that it's more those of us who are true, those of us who are being honest. I think that we suffered the most last year, that we were really a bit more shadow banned. I think stuff like that. I don't know. All right. So when I'm going to do I need to breathe first. I need to get myself into a good space before I start shuffling the cards. Because I don't want my energy being anywhere but clear before I shuffle them, or else we're getting my energy in the reading, and we want it to be about the collective. So just let me just breathe for a minute. You can breathe with me too. Hi, Miranda. How are you, love? So I'm just slowing down my breath. I'm engaging my diaphragm. You don't have to breathe out your mouth. If you breathe in your nose and out your nose, that's absolutely fine. It's a matter of engaging the diaphragm and lengthening the exhale. That's really the best thing that you can do. I like to close off the external stimuli by closing my eyes as well. And I like to put my hand on my heart, but that's my own personal thing. Probably because I trained in heart math, and that's heart focused breathing. And one of the things that I love to teach people is to do heart focused breathing. Yeah. Hi guys, how are you? I'm in a great mood today. Okay. Wait, I wasn't done. I got distracted because I explained my process, and then I was going to jump ahead. All right, I'm back to doing my breathing. Hmm. Hi, Myers. How are you, love? Hi, Leslie. How are you? Okay, we're going to check in on the collective energy with the cards, see what's going on. So remember, this is the collective energy. We can have some challenging energies, we can have some good energies. And I think that many of us are seeing that there's almost like a separation. There's like a real distinct difference between the way that people are experiencing society right now. As that card flew out and flipped over and sat upside down. And Queen Yani, did you stick around? Because that's interesting. It was the Queen of Ether. All right. Collectively. All right. Oh, that really jammed right in there. Wow. All right. We're going to take them both, and we're going to take this one because it's sticking out just like that. All right. What else is happening for the collective? Can I get an energetic? Get some cards for that. Wow. The cards are very hoppy today. That one flew right off the thing. Hi, Myers. How are you? Hello. A couple more over there. All right. So this is, just remember when I'm doing this reading, it is the collective reading. Hello. Those cards really flew down. It's the collective read. Wow. You should see them. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is ridiculous. I'm calling it. There's so many cards. It's incredible. This general reading is absolutely free. I may determine to give you a card, or like I might determine to give a card at the end or at some point. I'm not sure when, but I might give you a card for free. But I would love the support as well. I would love to, I show up here 3 times. I show up here trying to help, it's part of my company, right? So, that would be nice if there was some return. All right. I got to sort the cards. You know me, I like to sort her ups and downs and then we'll figure it out from there. Thank you, Kevin. TT. All right. This one's one that's on the iffies. Yeah, I was going to say. You're welcome. Yeah, I don't do those types of questions. Sorry, love. I'll give you, if I do, I would give you a card that was the best card for you. And that would kind of be it. Okay. I would give you what is the best thing for you. But that's not even what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm going to tell you energetically, you can ask a question. I reserve the right to answer it. How's that? I'm on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at the same time. But yeah, not Instagram yet because I can't figure out how to get all of that together. Thank you, Kevin. I'm going to talk about chakras, and I'm going to talk about the Christic embodiment method after I do the collective energy check-in. Oh, okay. The way that I do it is I will ask for the card that will deliver the message for you that you need to hear at this time. I don't check in to see how somebody else feels about you. I don't do those ones. That's not the types of readings that I provide. Does sometimes it coincide with the question that you're asking? Sometimes, yep, absolutely it does. But you always get the answer that you need. Okay. All righty. Hang on. We're still sorting. We had a lot of cards come out. The cards were very, very talkative tonight. Okay. Which the energy is big. Can you sense the energy shifting? Right? Can you shift that? Yeah, I'll tell you if I feel like doing cards for people, for individuals, I'll let you know after I'm done the collective stuff. Um, but I mostly want to talk a little bit about more micristic and the chakras and all of that stuff and the nervous system and all of that good stuff, because that's really going to help you long term. Is it? Buenas noches. Pure Vida. Right? Massive trend. Exactly. It's glitching a lot. That's unfortunate. Is it glitching for, okay, hang on. We gotta go through these cards, okay? Okay. All right. So we're gonna talk about the collective energy, and we're gonna talk about a lot of energy because there's a lot of energy going on at 11:11 on the timer. All right. So we've got the Ace of Ether in the inverted position. This is collective energy. This is what we're seeing globally. This is what we're seeing. It doesn't matter where you're living. You're going to be seeing elements of this. You may even be one of the individuals experiencing the elements of this. And hopefully you're experiencing a specific part of it. Like I said, it really does appear that we're seeing multiple realities at the same time. And the more that you withdraw your participation in society, the more that you see that apparent around you. All right. So we've got the Ace of Ether in the reverse. This is that there is a large number of society, or quite a number of society anyway, that are feeling very disconnected from source. And I like to talk about how, so how do we want to approach this topic? Sorry, I saw 12:12 at the same time, but I'm just going to talk from my knowing. So this is my knowing, and you can disagree with my knowing, and that's absolutely fine. I can hold space for other people having differing views. So my knowing is that evil is the absence of God. God is duality, or source is duality, is polarity. It's those things, but it is not evil. Evil is the absence of it. So when we detach from source so far, that's how we are able to, because we're no longer connected to our soul, that's when we're able to do these really evil and heinous acts. So that's where many are, and some are feeling disconnected because they're waiting for, say, a spiritual moment. They're waiting for some aha. They're waiting for something more significant to indicate that there's that connection there, because they've been shown in movies and TV and in text that it's going to be some like light coming out and just some profound thing. And the truth is, it's sometimes much more subtle and much more mundane, and that's why it's overlooked. So many people are detached from that. There's also a lot of creative blocks. There's many people that are resisting their transformation. They're resisting the growth that needs to occur. And we see that the more that you resist the growth that you need to have, the more that we're seeing people losing their minds a little bit, or being very reactionary. And the stuff that we're seeing is evidence of people not allowing themselves to evolve in the way that they're supposed to. And for many of us, we have a part of this, which is the lack of that, or we doubt our divine power. We've lost that connection because we weren't taught it. Many of us didn't have parents that had spiritual bone in their body. My mom often would mention, just randomly, that she was Protestant, and I didn't even know what that meant. When I was a child, I took myself to church. I took myself to Sunday school, but that's because I thought that I was a bad child and that I needed to go and get saving. Right. Exactly. Many layers. So that loss of that connection, that loss of information, right, is how we ended up detaching from our truth and who and what we are, and the way that we're meant to truly live, to honor ourselves as spiritual beings. So that detachment is there. It's very valid. It's very real. It's, you know, it's how we were unfortunately made to be. All right. Let's stick with the ether. I need a sip of tea. Okay, so we have the Queen of Ether in the shadow as well. And the Queen of Ether, when she's in the reverse, this is being overwhelmed by spiritual downloads. So for some of us in society, of course, we're experiencing this. The Schumann resonance, the amount of solar flares, we are getting downloads like crazy, and that can be overwhelming. So the one thing to remember with that is to come back into your nervous system, to come back to the soothing practices, right? What you learn to help you through your healing journey is the stuff that's still going to help you on your ascension journey. You know, going to your breath work, going to mindfulness, all of that. Many people are struggling with energetic boundaries. We seem to go through the phases of, you know, we're wounded and then we become the healed wounded, and then or the wounded healer. Right. I did that phase where right after I did my healing journey, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to save everybody. I'm going to heal everybody. Even though I knew that it's you that does the work, I still thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to help everybody. I'm going to help all my friends, and I'm going to help all my family, and I'm just going to heal the world. Right. And that's the wounded healer taking that responsibility on, or, you know, not having those solid boundaries. Right. And it takes that growth going through and saying, wait a second. My role here is mom. My role here is daughter. My role here is healer. My role here is friend. And so you keep them in their specific spots. So we learn these energetic boundaries as we go. And there's many people when they get into spirituality that they lack those spiritual boundaries. They don't have proper practices when they're doing their spiritual work, or there's a lot of stuff that's still in there, right? Like people that claim to be on, you know, on some level of evolution, who are, you know, simultaneously telling people they're stupid because they don't agree with a post that they made, showing how they lack they're not evolved at all, right? Like if you're running around going, I'm Arcturian and I'm blah, 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 and I'm da, 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 da. And because you asked this question, you're dumb. Aw, sweetheart, you got some growing to do. And so people are going through all of these evolutions, all of these growth, all of this growth, right? There are some of us that we are opening our minds up to information, and we're struggling to understand that, right? As people are getting the new information with the files that have dropped down. So we're starting to get the, you know, the UFO disclosures, and, you know, we already had the Epstein disclosures, and it's like disclosure after disclosure. That's overwhelm of information, right? And it's meant to keep your system jacked up, because you're more easily controlled when you're overwhelmed or living in fear. And a lot of us, we love to get the information of everything. Like we'll go and learn it. We'll read the book. We'll take the class. We'll take the course. We'll do whatever. But when it comes to the actual integration or the day-to-day embodiment of it, that's when people drop it. And that's why it doesn't stick. And you have to keep going back and seeing somebody over and over and over again for the same thing, because you just didn't embody it. And sometimes that's because they don't teach you how to embody it, or they don't give you the process to integrate whatever it is that they've taught you. And that's done on purpose. Alrighty, so we have some fire. We have a lot of fire energy. So let's have a little discussion about the fire. We've got our doubt, impatience, delays in manifestation, lack of confidence, and hesitation in moving forward. We're seeing that. I think that no matter where you look, if you're looking at those that are really ingrained in the matrix and living, you know, there's a lot of people that are living paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of fear of survival. There's a lot of the lack mechanism that's in there, right? Yes, it could be for you if it applies, right? That's what this part is about. You just listen and you take the messages that come through for you. There's something that's going to resonate, because this is a very broad reading, because it's for the collective. So everybody should find something that fits them somewhere. If you haven't heard it, it's in this pile. This is a pretty big pile. I'll have to speed it up or we'll be here all night. All right, so this fire one, the 3 of fire is an invitation to keep going, okay? It really is, because it's asking you to trust in the path ahead and trust, right, that you have the trust, like, and embrace that momentum. Yeah, I do. Hello, Jenny. How are you? I do. I used to do personal readings. I used to spend 3 hours a day doling out cards while I went hungry, because people would show up day after day for those 3 hours, getting free card after free card after free card, but they'd never go and buy one. They'd never go and spend money on a reading. And, if you're somebody that wants free, then, I don't know. Then you'll have to just wait until I'm ready to give away stuff for free, beyond what I'm doing already. All right. So this is only the beginning. This is really great energy. It's just that in the beginning, when it's in that reverse energy for a lot of us, that lack of confidence, that hesitation in moving forward, right? We have to get back to the nervous system. At the end of the day, you want to regulate your nervous system. You want to get your nervous system to safety so that you can start making decisions from a clear space, as opposed to making it from urgency, from lack, from fear, from, some other nervous system state that isn't going to benefit you, because you're maybe making a decision that's not right for you. Right? If we're afraid of being alone, we're going to make a decision to stay with somebody, even if they're not right for us, just because something's better than nothing. And that's a sad space to be in. How is Betty? All right. Wait, we're going to finish the air. We're going to finish the fire first. Okay. So we've got the 7 of air as well. Or sorry, a fire. Oh my gosh, we've got 1 air card. And we have the 5. Sorry, the 5 of fire. So we have these 2 together. These 2 together, when we're looking at the 5 of fire in reverse, that's where we're getting resolution. When it's in the upright, that's when we're talking about conflict. So we're looking at this conflict is now resolving. And this may have been the result of a compromise. So we're going to be seeing that along the way. Some of us maybe are experiencing that within the dynamic of our relationships. And this maybe was because we had taken a step back from things. We detached our energy a bit more. Or maybe we were doing the work. We were actually sitting with our energy, and in our energy, we did our breath work and we sat with ourselves and we got right with ourselves and we found clarity in the chaos, right? We're sitting there and we're like, wow, all out there is all chaos, but right here, it's just peaceful. And maybe you're that individual that you found that clarity within the chaos. I know I have. So the 7 is that defiant energy. It's that resilience. We need that energy to push us through. For some of us, we are holding our position. Some of us are asserting ourselves. And some of us are finally implementing boundaries, which is something we should have done a long time ago. But we had to learn and get to that point. We have the 8 of air that came out as well. So for the collective reading, this is talking about, because it was in the upright, right? This is the energy of feeling trapped. And the 8 of air is the card that's talking about how our minds are often the thing that cages us, right? And because that's what the energy is of the ace of air, is that you are trapping yourself mentally. So you're thinking and worrying and assuming and building up a story. And we do that all the time. We fill in the blanks. And our brains are really good at filling in the blanks so that it coincides with our belief systems, with our previous trauma, with what we believe about the situation. So we make meanings and we make connections. Like, we like to do that. So if your system's dysregulated, or if you are like you're really worrying and assuming things, you can be trapping yourself mentally within your own cage. So this is where we have self-doubt and overthinking and false restrictions. So this is where we tell ourselves we can't do this, or we can't have that, or we're not, whatever, the imposter syndrome stuff that all comes out. So this is the reminder that freedom begins in the mind. Okay, so we need to free ourselves from our mind. All right, we got a ton of cards in the positive realm. We've got the 10 of air. We're going to talk about that first, because the 10 of air marks the time of completion, right? This is when we've said enough is enough. I'm done with that. We are done. And you are seeing that in the collective. There are many people that are just enough. We are done with it. We're done with the lies. We're done with the illusions. We're done with the with all of the stuff. We're just done with it across the board, and we're seeing that, which is really nice. So we've learned to release old patterns, and this is marking a card that marks lightness after darkness. Exciting. That would be nice. I'm in Alberta right now, Jenny. I'm not that far away. Sorry, I just want to look at what other cards there are in the in the upright. I think they're all, yeah. All right. We're going to talk about the other 10 before we move on. And when we have the 10 of fire, this is that overworking energy. Oh, I'm sorry. That overworking energy, it's the, it can be exhaustion, right? And I see that with a lot of people where they just feel like there's not enough time, or they feel like, they're working harder and harder and harder to make ends meet. They're doing everything that they're doing, right? It's just, it's tiring. It's exhausting. So there is a need here to delegate. There is, there's a need for someone whoever's aligning with this particular card, for them to rest, to do work with your nervous system, because it's at its limit. And that's when we make really rash decisions that maybe aren't aligned for us. Okay, we've got the 4 of water. The 4 of water was in the upright position. If I could pick it up off the table, that would be awesome. The 4 of water is in the upright position. So this is where we have that emotional reflection, maybe that withdrawal where we turned within. And that's what we need to do on that awakening journey. We need to go within. I'm going to leave all of the major arcana till last. All right, let's do water, and then we'll do ether. So we've got the 10 of water. We actually had 3 10s in this reading, but the 10 of water is divine love. It's emotional fulfillment. It is harmonious relationships. And we're moving into that. The more that you align yourself with your truth, the more that you're going to align with other people who are aligned with their truth. The more that we start to awaken and understand that we are masculine and feminine energy, and we learn to love both of those energies and live within them simultaneously, moving back and forth, right, as needed. The more that we get to that point, then we create that state of trinity within ourselves. And then we can be in trinity with somebody else. And that's how we find that beautiful sacred union. Okay, we got the Knight of Water. This is talking about romantic partnerships. And, we are in that time of year when romance seems to kick up, right? Coming into June and those times. So this is like deep emotions. These can be invitations. It can be the opportunity, or you just following your heart, right? And this can be like really creative passion. And that's great energy. The night, we just have to be careful of being swept away with romance, and not being immature with it. That's the one thing about the night, is he can sometimes rush a little too quickly. So we just have to put the brakes on a little bit. All right. We also have the 4 of ether. This is another card that speaks about reflection, but now instead of reflecting emotionally, reflecting spiritually. Okay. So when we're reflecting spiritually, this is like a divine pause. This is the opportunity for us to recalibrate energetically. We're taking time to integrate things spiritually, and we're allowing for divine timing, which is what we need to be sitting in, is in that space of divine timing. Okay. The state of just knowing. Then you have the seven of ether, and the seven of ether in the upright is cosmic wisdom, it's divine guidance, it's standing in at a pivotal choice. And many of us are in that, where we are challenged to remain where we are in our comfort zone, where we are maybe connected to people who are aligned with the old us, or stepping out into that space that's more aligned with who we are spiritually and leaving those old connections behind. And that can be a moment that's a bit scary. But this is when we align with our soul mission. And the seven of ether is also talking about that pause, just taking that beautiful and having patience before you take action. And when you're in that space where you can have patience before taking action, then you know that you're going to be making moves from a stable place. You're going to be making decisions that are clear, and that's more powerful than anything. All right, I'll major arcana now, but I need a sip of tea before I continue on with these 4 cards. There we go. And I meant to say by sip, I should have said more of a drink of tea, because it's definitely going to be a little more than just a sip. All right. We have the Empress. All right. So this is the collective energy, right? This is the collective reading. The divine feminine energy. And when we talk about this in the collective energy, we're not talking just about the women. Anyone that's promoting the divine feminine and only the rise of the women is missing half the point. Like literally, because every masculine has divine feminine energy in him as well. It doesn't matter how you identify, and it doesn't matter, whether you're XX or XY. That doesn't matter. Even if you're XYY or XXY, it doesn't matter. It does not matter what you are, masculine and feminine energy. It depends on what you are doing is when you are operating under that energy. And while we are living in a society that has a distorted view of the masculine and the feminine, we will be holding each side of those within ourselves in distortion. If we have a toxic relationship with our father, we are going to have a toxic relationship with our own masculine energy and probably the masculines within our lives. And the same thing goes with our feminine energy. So we need to heal those energies, both of those aspects within each of us. And like I was just mentioning not that long ago, that's divine union within when we do that. And we need to do that as a societal whole. But rise of the divine feminine, or this cosmic mother, this energy that's rising is rising in all of us, masculine included. So this will be more nurturing energy. This is more intuitive, connected to nature. This is more of an unconditional love, like that, just that beautiful energy, and very creative. Okay, very creative energy. We also received the Temperance card, the moon, and the star. So we've got Sagittarius, Pisces, and Aquarius energy from these 3. So when we're looking at temperance is sacred alchemy. This is being able to blend and transmute those energies. So when you are, you're born with trauma, you inherited trauma, then you got trauma because your parents traumatized you, society traumatized you, your school traumatized you, your friends, your brothers, your whatever. We got it in a myriad of ways, and very few of us actually escaped without receiving any trauma. We may be lying to ourselves and saying that we didn't, but that transmutation of that energy, and whether it's our own individual trauma or collective trauma. And there's a difference. I've said that word so many times, like it doesn't even faze me, but there's a big difference between little t trauma and big T trauma, right? And that's a big difference as well. Existence is absolutely right. There's so many things. If we look at the way that we are supposed to live inherently as divine beings that we are, as spiritual beings having a human experience, absolutely existence is trauma. We are being traumatized all the time. So that temperance is the sacred alchemist, and that's the one that transmutes that energy, that blends it, that alchemizes it, that makes it something new. So this is that harmony, that spiritual alignment and integration that we're getting from the Sagittarius, from the Temperance card, which is Sagittarius. All right, we've got the moon, which is talking about our intuition and dreams. Many of us are tapping into new energies, right? Many of us are tapping into the astral realm, which we maybe weren't doing 5-10 years ago. We're exploring different things. We're seeing more people that are doing like telekinesis or, other stuff that's going on. And the rise of these abilities is partly because people are practicing, and partly because the more that we awaken, the more that the earth awakens, and the higher that her vibration resonates, the lower that the veil is. So the easier that we are, easier time that we are having, especially the higher that you're vibrating, that you're having interacting with these new things, like the spectrum in which you're seeing broadens, as an example. And so these are the things that we're seeing. We're starting to receive more messages from the subconscious, and working with more unseen influences. There's more spiritual insights that we're receiving, and that's all the energy that the moon is bringing for us. And then we've got our star, and I left that for last. So the star is this beautiful, you wish upon a star, and, there's a lot of us, we've been, hoping and hoping and hoping, and this is just telling us that it is here. There is divine guidance, there's spiritual awakening, there's alignment with higher self. This is a card that really represents that authenticity, that innovation. It is the humanitarian of the astrological space when we're looking at Aquarius, right? That's the energy that it brings. So this card representing it carries that energy as well. There's beautiful creative energy, and it's about really having that wish upon a star. It's coming, it's here. And so that's the energy that we're starting to see, and people are. It seems like, there's a real shift lately energetically, that something's changing and something's happening, and that we're going to start, I don't know, something's coming. I can feel it. Maybe you have to join one of my groups, and I'll talk about it more there, because then I'm not speaking about it publicly. And anyway. All right, I'm going to give a couple of these cards, and then we're going to talk about some other things. Today is Wednesday, so feel free to talk about anything that you want. We can talk about anything. All right, just one more. I like these little cards. This is the 44 Keys of the Way Oracle. I painted all of these images on the cards. Okay, that's the one that wanted to come out. All right, this is perfect. Oh, I love these cards. All right, we'll do it in that order, just like that. The first card that we have is the Steady Flame. It's actually number 1 in the whole entire deck. And the affirmation is, I am the flame of divine origin made manifest. Your remembrance is, you are not here to become, you are here to remember. The flame has never left you and does not need improvement, only recognition. Beneath roles, reactions, and history, a steady light remains. When you return to stillness, that original light becomes accessible under directive. Okay? You are that flame. Like, you don't have to become something new. You just have to stop being all the things that you never were, which were all handed to you and given to you by somebody else that was handed and given something from somebody else, right? One of the questions that I asked today, I got like a bunch of responses, and some of them went to the whole, like, basically, you're just dumb for asking that question. And, it's just the whole, like, allowing you to have the experience of, like, just, so tell me why you disagree with what I said. But people like to just defer to, either insults or, someone failed science or something, whatever they want to do, rather than say, well, why do you believe that? I don't want to know why somebody told you that. I don't want to know why you were, why the, like, why. I want to know why you believe that, why you know that in your bones to be the reason why. Like, why, how can you explain it from yourself, not go grab it from AI, not go get it from some, physics textbook. I want you to tell me how you know that. That's what I want. That's what I was challenging people. So put your hand on your heart and you inhale for 4 and exhale for 6 breaths. And then whisper, I return to the flame that made me, and sit still for 60 seconds in silence. I really have a dry throat. I still need to cough. I got a really good tickle. I almost waited too long. Oh my gosh. The second card is the quiet mind. And the quiet mind, its affirmation is, I allow my mind to rest in silence. Remembrance. Silence is not absence, it is access. When input reduces, insight increases. The mind can learn to rest without losing awareness. From quiet, precision returns. So the practice for this card would be to set a 3-minute timer with no input. Each thought, return to your breath. And the last card, and then we're going to get into the other stuff that we're going to talk about. And feel free to join in the conversation. We can talk about anything. I mean, you can ask any question. I reserve the right to discuss it, though, because I don't just say yeah to anything, because people are kind of all right. So this is the final card. It's the gentle pace, the affirmation. I allow life to unfold without rushing. Remembrance. Speed can reduce accuracy. A gentle pace improves quality and reduces errors. Timing matters. The practice is to slow run one routine by 25%, to keep attention on the task and notice the difference. All right. That's the energy. Look at the sun's coming out briefly. We haven't really seen it much. It's been pretty overcast today. So that's nice, getting some sun. So how's everyone doing? Where are you from? Where are you watching from? Oh, Latinos, there we go. Where are you watching from? I know where you are. And you don't have to answer. That's quite fine. I'm going to put my comments in the right spot. That way there, I won't miss them. I think that's a good idea. Hello, say hello and where you're from. Okay. Did you want to learn some stuff? What did you think about learning? I like to learn. I really do. And I love to teach. And when we do our Wednesday show, I call it Embodied Wisdom, because I like to teach things that you can embody within your day-to-day, like practical things that you can. So yeah, did you want to learn tonight? Well, it's my live, so guess what? That's what I signed you up for. I don't know where I clicked that, but somehow it took my thing away. My comments went, there they are. Anyway, it moved my comments. That's all right. We got them back. Alrighty. So let's talk about I've been telling people briefly in a couple of the episodes, and before I actually get into the teaching thing, I just wanted to briefly remind everybody it's 50% off all services until Friday. So that's any tarot, astrology, or trauma and nervous system support sessions. So those three sessions. So at my website at Sha'Ryah, there are 3 membership groups. One's free, and then the other 2 are paid membership groups, and they're both the same price. But anyway, they're paid membership groups. And the stuff that I'm going to talk about tonight, I go into varying levels of depth within each of those membership groups each day. So they get to learn this a little bit more in depth. Although at some point there will be an education thing that I'll put together for it, because it's pretty powerful information. That tickle was really not wanting to leave that part of my throat. Wow. Okay. So I'm talking about the chakra system. Okay. Now, for many of us, and I start with a lot of people don't even know about the chakra system, right? We didn't learn that we're even energy bodies, or we didn't learn that we're spirits having a human experience. We didn't learn about any of these things. We just learned that we were a brain that was operating a body, and that was pretty much it. Like, that was, and some of us learned more than that, and some of us had spiritual gifts when we were children. Some of us shut those down very early on because our parents shut them down. There's lots of things that went on, lots of traumas that we experienced, especially when we look at religious traumas and so on and so forth. So anyway, many of us didn't learn this. And then there are some of us that have begun to learn, and we've opened ourselves up to the chakra system as being 7 energy centers within your body that run up your spinal column. And you start with the one on the root at the bottom of your spine, and you go up to the sacral, to the solar plexus, to the heart, to the throat, to the third eye, to the crown. And then some of us have gone beyond that. We understand that there's chakras above and below. And some of us have gone, understand that there's chakras in our hands and in our fingers, and that there's the higher heart chakra, and so on and so forth. But when you look at us as energetic beings, there are 7 energetic bodies. And when you look at the chakra system across those energetic bodies, you soon find out that we actually have, throughout our entire energy field, we have 50 gates. Cool. Yeah, I played with Ouija boards when I was younger too. I wouldn't do it again. But that's just me. Like, I just don't play with that kind of stuff anymore. So, with this chakra system, it's 50 gates across energy. So 50 gates of the physical. Across the emotional layer. It's just the way that you activate or utilize or regulate them changes based on the energetic layer that you're in. The way that they're worked with, it deepens as you expand through the energy layers. And when you get to the final layer, it's only partially expressed with 30. So I tie that into a lot of the stuff that I do, whether it's within my trauma program, or it's within my balanced self group, or the embodied leadership group. Either one of them, I tie this information into that because it relates to your nerve, relates to all of these things. And I like my trauma, my metaphysical, and combine it together. And so that's what I'm talking about with the Christic embodiment method. And today we're going to talk about regulation, overwhelm, and returning to the body, because a lot of people are experiencing overload right now in some capacity. right? And this is not weakness in any way. It's not a failure in any way. We are just experiencing too much input, too much stimulation, too much pressure, too much attention being pulled in all these different directions. And it's done on purpose or by design, right? When I look at the four reasons why your chakras get out of alignment, one is the disconnection from natural cycles and natural alignment. Like, so we're disconnected from nature. Not all of us, but there's quite a few of us that are. And again, that's done by design. That's why they want us in smaller and smaller spaces, like 15-minute cities, right? That's by design, because it's to disconnect us from nature. But we're also disconnected because the calendar is not right. We don't follow the sun and the moon like we should. Like, we're supposed to be following the planets. We're supposed to be following the cycles of the earth and the celestial bodies. But we don't get taught that. We get taught a calendar that's out of alignment, that's not even on the right time frame, right? And that's just like, and then the other things like our nervous system being dysregulated all the time, that's done on purpose too, because that also keeps our chakras out of alignment. It does a lot to us to have that. Our identity is fragmented as well. So, and that's again done on purpose. So all of these different things are reasons why our chakras are out of alignment. So this is, again, it's done by design. And when we're looking at too much input, many of us, it's constant. I live a very quiet life, in the sense that I'm the loudest thing in my life. I'm not somebody that has to have music on all the time. I don't watch TV every night. I do not, I like quiet. I like going outside and listening to the birds. I'd rather listen to nature than anything else. And, take me and go down by a babbling brook. Let's go by the ocean and listen to the waves. Let's go, I don't know. There's so many things, right? Like, that I would rather listen to, or interact with. But we are overstimulated. And I remember when I was working in nursing, and, especially when I was working in occupational health, I used to wear an over the head ear set. And I wore that because it would block out a lot of the noise, and that would help to limit the input that I was receiving, because it's just too much stimulation. And we do have a lot of pressure coming at us from all different directions. And, our attention is being pulled everywhere we look. There's this flashy thing and that flashy thing, and this fake buzz on your phone to just, that phantom buzz that gets you pulled back into your phone, that fake notification that says, hey, so-and-so sent you a chat, and they didn't, but they get you back into, or whatever, those fake things. So we're doing this, or we're experiencing all of this. And when we get like that, oftentimes what our default is to go to problem solving. We think we're going to fix it because we're going to find a solution. We're going to fix our way out of, why we've got all this pressure. I'll just solve it somehow. I'll figure it out. But the problem is that you don't get to that state of clarity until you fix the safety issue that's going on in your body. And when you're in that state where you're getting too much input, too much stimulation, too much pressure, too much attention being fragmented everywhere, when you're dealing with all of that stuff, you're not able to get to that clarity, and you're clearly not in a safe space. Your body's determining these things as threats. So what you have to do is get yourself back to that space of safety before your mind can then operate from a clear space. Okay? Help. So we're going to slow down things tonight. We're going to go back into the body, and we're going to talk about what regulation actually is, and not from like this spiritual guru space. It's not from that at all. This is from a wellness perspective, right? This is like real embodiment. Okay. We're going to do this the right way. We're going to do this the right way. We're going to do it. We're going to actually learn the right stuff. All right. So, I was one of those people, I used to think that I was pretty freaking broken, and I was not broken. I was just overloaded. I burned out and I broke down. That's what I used to say, but it was ended up being more of a breakthrough. And it wasn't necessarily like, it wasn't because there was something wrong with me. It's because I was go, 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 do, do, do. I have to be, be, be. I was operating underneath the same things that everybody else in society is, which is that you have to do all of these things. You have to reach all of these goals. You have to take on all of these responsibilities. You have to whatever. And meanwhile, you're overloaded with like trauma. So you have no idea how to manage your emotions. And, that's how many of us are running around out there. But right now, there can come a time where you think that every time that you're experiencing a difficult time, that there's something wrong with you, like that you're just not able to handle it, or you're just weak, or whatever. But it's just that your nervous system is overloaded. Sometimes it's too much noise, right? We were never meant to listen to the amount of things that we listen to everywhere we go. When your power goes out and you're like, wow, is it ever quiet? That's when you realize how loud things are just in general, right? Is the moment your power goes out and you realize how much noise is in your house that you're not even aware of, right? And that's for me. And I don't, like I said, I'm not sitting here with my radio or TV and stuff running in the background. We are too much screen time, right? Like how many of us are constantly on devices for one reason or another. That's one I have to balance because I'm doing content creation and I do education, and I run a nonprofit. And so I run two companies and I'm managing social media and all of that stuff. So it's like, it's a lot, right? So you're on the screens a lot. Hey, Adbar, how are you? God is good to everyone. And sometimes we have too much emotional input, and that's because we're not clear with our own emotional boundaries. So we're taking on the energies of other people, and we're not realizing that. Sometimes it's the emotional input because, like you're watching dramas on TV, and next thing you know, you're crying over something that you're watching, or you're getting all, startled, or provoking your empathy because of this thing going on over here and that thing going on over here, and you got to be afraid of that. Like the emotional stuff that's going on in the world right now is overwhelming. There's a lot of urgency, right? Especially when we're operating under lack, and there's this faked idea that there's that things are running out. We don't have enough space. We don't have enough fuel. We don't have enough food. We don't have enough whatever. It's all lies, but it keeps you in a state of urgency because you're operating from that space of lack. And for some of us, we are in a space of lack because we don't have the money to be able to afford the things that are a necessity, because unfortunately, the predator class that is operating things is unfortunately making things unreasonably expensive for the ones at the very bottom of the social scale. So there's more of us that are going to be in negative situations. We just have to come together and bypass that space. Like we just have to help each other. All right. So, and there's all this pressure to perform. I don't know how many people are like, they just like, it's just this go, 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 do, do, do. And it's like, it's this this constant, like having to be somebody that society thinks that they have to be and do all these things. Right. And it's like, you can say no. You do not have to do all those things. You can say no, like at any time. So what ends up happening when you're dealing with all of this is that eventually your body's compensating for everything. And you'll notice that your breathing is shallow and your jaw is tense and your shoulders are tight. And maybe you can't really focus all that well. And maybe you're starting to get emotionally reactive. starting to bite off your coworkers' heads a little bit, or maybe you're saving it for your partner at home, or you're just getting at your child once in a while, right? Maybe you're feeling exhausted, but you can't actually rest. You don't really feel rested even after you do. Maybe you're scrolling, but you're not actually absorbing anything. You're watching TV and you have to keep backing it up because you're like, what was that? Or you're reading something and you read it and then you're like, what was that? You read it again. Or you feel stuck while you're also feeling overwhelmed. So like you're in this stagnant space, but you're like overwhelmed with energy. Like it's a weird space to be in. Right? Most of the times though, we don't look at our bodies at that moment, right? Because like I said, we weren't taught to look at our bodies in that capacity where we look at your body as a tool. If you were, say, in sports, great, body, awesome. Body, maybe look at your body in the sense of being fit, looking good, like things like that. But we weren't taught to look at our body as a system of response, like that is telling us all of this information. And if we connect to our body and we listen to it, it is a very honest and aligned machine for us, like with the information that it's giving us. So, but because we've been taught to think that the brain is running the show and that it's responsible for everything, we keep letting our brain do the running. And so it just gets out there and it's like, okay, so we're going to consume more information. We're going to watch more podcasts, more videos, more techniques. Eventually we'll figure it out, right? It's, like that, you just keep consuming more. But that overload doesn't get solved by more input because you're already overloaded. You need to go to regulation, right? You need to get back to yourself and stop the stimulation long enough so that your system can actually hear itself again and your body can come back to that safe spot. Because as long as you're not feeling safe, you're not going to be moving from the present moment. You're going to be moving from some space of urgency or fear or confusion. Or you won't be moving at all because you'll be too afraid to do it or too confused to do it. You can't make a decision. And so you get paralyzed instead. The body is always speaking to you. It's constantly communicating. It's just that we've been trained, like I said, to override it. The body will tell you when you need rest. The body will tell you when something feels unsafe. I gotta do my puzzle. The body will tell you when a boundary is needed. The body will tell you when you're overextending yourself. The body will tell you when something is aligned, and the body will tell you when something is not aligned. But if you spent years disconnected from your body, eventually you stop recognizing the signals. You normalize dysregulation. And we do anyway, because what is familiar to us, like I talk about how it's the environment that you were raised in is your normal environment. And until you teach your body something different, it's going to continuously seek out that familiar environment because that's safe. You're safe. Because your body's weird or your brain, sorry, it's weird in that it doesn't understand that familiar and safe is kind of like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, right? If you're if you're in an abusive relationship, you know what to anticipate from that particular person. But if you leave that relationship and get into a next relationship, you have to learn new cues. You have to learn their patterns. You have to learn, like what and they could be much worse, right? Like that's how we are subconsciously wired to think in those spaces. So that's often why we stay in those. So the familiar becomes the safe to us, to our nervous system. And even when it's unsafe. And that's why when we're on our healing journey and we go into that space where it's quiet and it's still, that can be scary. And for some of us, that's because there was a quiet before the storm. There was that calm that used to occur before your dad backhanded you. And, so we've become accustomed to think that quiet is that impending doom. but it's also because in that quiet, we start to feel the things we didn't feel, or our mind starts to go into those moments that we haven't dealt with. We always go back to trying to heal those things because your body wants to go to stasis. It wants to get back to that homeostasis. And in order to do that, it means I need to release all of those emotions that I'm holding on to that I never got to experience or I never spent. So it just wants to release them. And the same thing with your brain. It wants to release that energy that's there, and, with your mental space, right? With your mental layer. So we want to process through those things. So some of us become disconnected because that's the state of regulation or dysregulation that we go into from our traumas. Children, especially those of us that experience sexual abuse, will disassociate from our bodies, and those of us that experienced extreme physical abuse will disassociate from our bodies. If we've done it enough times, then we stay dissociated from our bodies, and that means that feeling is very numbed out. So we have to work through reconnecting to our body and what we're feeling, and that we're safe in that feeling. So like I said, we normalize the situations that we're in. We normalize our dysregulation. We normalize our tension. It's just my shoulder. It's just the shoulder, right? It's just my lower back. It's just, it's an old hockey injury, right? Like all of those things, right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You normalize fatigue, right? It's just middle age, or it's just old age, right? Like it's just like everybody's tired. We're all tired. It's just, I'm tired because of work. I'm tired because of this. Or you normalize hypervigilance, right? Like how many of us, when I went to sit out for lunch the other day, and I don't go out very often, but when I went out to sit out for lunch the other day, my business partner said to me, do you want to sit across from each other or like on the corner of the table, right? Do you want to sit on the corner? And I was like, well, we can sit on the corner, and that way both of us basically can see the restaurant. So we both don't have neither one of us has to have our back to it. Because I know that's the way that a lot of people are that have had trauma, that they want to be able to see what's coming at them, right? And they don't like to have their back to an open restaurant where anyone could walk up to them. And that's something that we get from that state of hypervigilance, right? So we've normalized these things, right? We've normalized them. So when we've been through these things, calm feels very unfamiliar. And so that's why when we slow down, or when we become still, or when we get into meditation, why some people find meditation very, very challenging when they're on their healing journey, because that's being in the silence, that's being in the quiet, that's being in the stillness. That's where everything comes out, and nobody wants to deal with that, which is why I always suggest to start with containers and safety and soothing before you go into the healing journey, because then you're prepared for when you're doing that. And then to also go into it the same way that you do everything else, which is one moment to one moment, one bite to one bite, one step to one step, one breath to one breath. It's not the whole ocean at once. So once you lower the noise, you'll begin to hear what your body has been trying to communicate the entire time. But that, like I said, that can take some healing before you get into that space. Because if you're dissociated, you have to reconnect before you're going to be able to really hear your body. So that can take some time, but your body's been communicating the whole time. We might not realize it, right? Like we've become so numb to it. We'll sit there and we'll get that in our tummy, and we'll be like, oh, it must have been something I ate. Meanwhile, your stomach's telling you like, that guy, he's just, be aware of that dude, right? And it's just that, you're getting that rock in the pit of your stomach, but you just put it off as indigestion. Or something else happens, right? And you just chalk it off as nothing. And meanwhile, it's your body screaming at you, hello, that is good for you, or that's not good for you, right? Exactly. It's exactly how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Never eat an elephant, though. I do not suggest that. I wouldn't eat one. Never, never. I would bathe an elephant, though. That's on my bucket list. I want to go and I want to hang out with an elephant and bathe it. And you can do that, I think, in Thailand. So then that's not aggression, not regression when we do that, when we slow down, right? That's actually when you start to connect with yourself and your awareness begins to return, which is extremely powerful. Hello, love. How are you? How are you? Nice, nice. So people are trying to build relationships and business and leadership and purpose and healing and embodiment the whole entire time being dysregulated. Right? Because most people aren't thinking about their nervous system. They're not thinking about where their body is and whether or not they're aligned with it. It was interesting because I got this invitation to go to this free webinar with this coach, and she was talking about the same stuff in a roundabout way. Because she was talking about how she made a lot of money. She's a very famous coach, and she did so because she hustled and grinded, and that's what she was teaching everybody else to do. And then when they couldn't get the same results as she was getting, they were like, why? And like, she's also going, like, I don't understand why you're not getting the same results. You're just do what I'm doing. And that's when she realized, she wasn't doing it quite the right way. And so I found that quite interesting, how that was coming up as well. So your system eventually will push back on you, right? Eventually your body says, I can't hold this anymore. And because I don't feel safe, so I'm going to start dropping things. And so maybe you start to have, difficulties in your relationship, or maybe you start to have financial problems again, right? Like, or whatever it is, because your body doesn't feel safe to carry it. It doesn't feel safe to carry anymore. So before we go through a massive expansion, there has to be regulation. So if you're like working on leveling up your career, or you're starting a new company or anything like that, you have to take the opportunity to get your nervous system into a regulated space. So being connected to your body, being in the present moment, all of that, because that clarity it needs stability in order for it to be there, right? We won't be clear when we're not in a stable position. We'll be running around in fear. We'll be making decisions out of urgency. We'll be doing it to do it quickly. And it's not going to function, because that's not the alignment that we need. I'm checking. I'm actually logging in. I saw you sent a picture. Aww. Hello, baby. So sweet. Pretty girl. I hopped off it too. I went on and off, just quick, because that can be very distracting. So before you can go into leadership, there has to be embodiment. And that's why we've seen this fall of the guru culture. Oh, no. I was good. I was in and out like that. Right? Because many of the people that are in the spotlight, that are way, way up there, that are very influential, that have lots and lots of following, and, we can talk about Deepak, but when we're looking at those individuals, many of them are there not because they are embodying what they're selling. It's because they can trap you into another loop where you're never truly ascending. You're never truly getting beyond what you're supposed to be, but they keep making money, right? Like, he was pretending to be something that he was not, while getting a lot of money from you to circle, I guess, at the end of the day, right? Many people just kept going and getting more and more and more from him, which is what a lot of them do. They create this dependency or this need to come back for more. So I focus very heavily on the nervous system and on the body, because real transformation isn't just about the insight. It's not about the information that you're acquiring. It's about your body and what it's capable of holding. Can it hold more responsibility? Can you handle more visibility? Can you handle more truth, right? Can you handle more stillness? Can you handle more connection? Can you handle more pressure without collapsing? That and you handle these things. And in doing so, you have to be living the truth, right? You can't be pretending, or else it'll eventually be revealed. It's just the way it goes. So let's do a little guided meditation. Okay. We're going to just do a little tiny little meditation. Okay. Sound good? Little guided meditation. Oh, I lost my comment again. I must have, what did I click on? Doesn't matter. Nice. Okay. So go through this guided little practice. It's nothing too big, but which will be helpful for you. Okay. It'll be helpful for you. All right. This is just a regulation practice. A regulation practice is all that we're going to do. Okay. So the first thing that I want you to do is make sure that you're sitting comfortably. And if you can, put both feet on the floor. Okay. If you can't, then I'll explain at the point when it makes. Okay. So if you can put your feet on the floor, you're going to now press your feet gently into the floor. Not hard, just enough to feel the contact. Now, if you can't, for some reason, put your feet on the floor, then this is going to be from your seat. You're going to push your seat into the seat or the floor, wherever you're seated. Not hard, but just enough to feel the contact. And then we're going to take a nice slow breath in through the nose and a longer breath out. And because that felt good, we're going to do it again. In through the nose and out. Three times for good measure. In through the nose. Longer breath out. Now I want you to look around your room and I want you to note 3 objects. Okay. Now I want you to look at 3 colors. Okay. And I want you to look at 3 points of stability in the room. Okay. Now I want you to notice your jaw. Notice your shoulders. Notice whether your breath changed. Notice whether your attention slowed down even slightly. And that's regulation. That's coming into the moment. You can probably feel your body more. You've given your system just enough safety that signals will stop fighting for a moment, right? You can just be in the moment, present within your body. So one of the things that many of us need right now is less input, and that's not forever. It's just intentionally, and we should be taking these rests or these breaks every now and then. because your nervous system was not designed for constant notifications, for endless doom scrolling, for nonstop stimulation, and for emotional overload from hundreds of people daily. And yet, many people never truly unplug from anything, right? They keep stuff going on all the time. I was in a relationship with a guy that had to have the TV on just about all the time. I obviously wasn't in a relationship with him for long, and thank goodness. Like, I just can't even imagine living with that constant noise, constant something going, nonstop stimulation, right? So that your system never gets an opportunity to fully reset because things aren't being turned off, and you're just in this constant inundated with information, right? Because your body is intaking all of that, right? It's trying to make sense of, like, this noise that I'm hearing, the TV on in the background. Is there something that I need to be aware of? Is there some threat? So you need moments when your body can hear yourself, moment where there's no pressure to perform, there's no pressure to respond, there's no pressure to consume. It's just present, just being in the moment, just being in your body, being relaxed, being true, right? Because that's where the truth is. And that's where boundaries become really, really important, right? Boundaries aren't punishment, they're actually structure. And your body needs that structure in order to feel safe. And it's not about rigidity, it's structure. So let's just say that one more time: structure, not rigidity, structure. All right. So when we're talking about leadership, it begins in the body. And a lot of people will think that leadership is just about visibility. So we've equated that, oh, that person's a leader because that person has, say, 1 million followers, or like that's like that's how people get to that point, right? And how many people have fake followers, right? Now that we've I learned that there's all of these Instagram, I almost pulled my hair, I don't know why, but there's all of these like followers that get paid, like they get paid from like countries, and they're getting paid to like like a lot of money to be influencing you in a specific way, right? Like, there's a lot of shady stuff going out there, like people that have bought, followers and so on and so forth. So if you're not careful, you're going to be consuming stuff that's realistically from a false light. And it's just going to cause you to spiral in your evolution, as an example. But, we're seeing leaders that shouldn't have been leaders at all because they aren't actually embodying the truth of what they're promoting, right? Or, when you think about the way that they're running the show, they don't know how they couldn't operate a paper bag, like if their lunch was in it, like, like. So when we're looking at embodied leadership, what it is can you stay present under pressure? Okay, so that's something that you want to look for. Either if you are being a leader, it's something that you want to work towards, or if you have a leader, it's something that you hope that they have within them as a dynamic. For you, can you stay connected to your body while speaking? Can you remain regulated while making decisions? And can you maintain clarity when emotions rise? Because your nervous system affects everything. It affects your relationships, your creativity, your businesses, your parenting, your healing, and your ability to lead. Because people are going to feel your nervous system state before they hear your words. And that's why embodiment matters. Wow. That's crazy. Right? So I want you to think about this tonight for this live, right? I want you to think about what would happen if you actually listened to your body. Not fear, not hyperanalysis, nothing. You just listened to your body. And, you started to think of your body like not as your enemy. I was somebody that hated on my body for years. I was just very dissociated from it. I was a child. I was a child survivor of all kinds of trauma, including very young sexual abuse. So I dissociated from my body at a very young age and stayed dissociated for much of my life, and is still working on fully reconnecting to it. But that's a process, right? Right? So you need your body enemy, okay? And you're not failing, trying to function without regulation, without rest, without stillness, without boundaries, or without safety. So imagine trying to do all of those things without functioning with enough of those. Like, those are pretty significant parts of, living a healthy life, or being, connected to the present and making good, clear decisions. So remember, put your feet on the ground. Make sure that your exhale is longer. Reduce the input that you're taking in. Slow down enough to hear yourself again. It's not weakness, but it is where you're going to start to hear more. You're going to be more clear. Okay. And if you want to hang out with me and do more, you can always come to either one of the groups that I talked about. The Temple of Light is free. Embodied Leadership Circle, we go into real depth with it. The Balanced Self Sanctuary, you look at the more practical aspects of the Christic embodiment method. In Return to Center, it's a 10-day experience where there are about 30 minutes in each session, and it's to help you return to center. Each of the practices are actually really short. Each of the practices probably between 3 and 5 minutes, maybe. Like, I think the longest practice probably is 5 minutes. But, in teaching or giving the information or explaining, the why and the what of the practice, and then giving the practice and going over the bonus, each session is still less than 30 minutes. I think the longest one is 22 and a half minutes at this point, or something like that. So those sessions, there's 10 of them, and you get a PDF that includes bonus sessions for each of the days. And that just helps you. They're just little practices. Like I said, there'll be little practices like we did today, where it's, to put your hand on your chest, to return to the set to you, to slow down your breathing, lengthen the exhale, and stuff like that. So that's available at the website as well. You can go check that out. But again, all services are on sale, 50% off. So that's all readings, whether tarot or astrology, as well as the trauma and nervous system support session that I have. And that's an hour session with me to talk about what you are dealing with your trauma. And I'll help you in I can't even explain the session because I don't know what you're going to come to me with. So it would be depending on what you showed up with me with. But it would have some nervous system regulation. I might give you some somatic practices. But anyway, I will help you with it in the session, depending on what you're bringing with me. It's really hard to speculate on a session without could have faked a session, pretended a session. But then I think the reason why I don't like to pretend about a session, like fake a session, to kind of give an idea of what I would do, is because I'm too worried that I would end up saying something that sounded similar to someone else's story that they had experienced. But I do know that my friend here, Hazel Kitten, she has experienced what it's like to work with me, and I'm pretty sure that she was happy with the work that we did. I mean, she's still here after all this time. After all this time. All right, who wants a free card? I'll do free card. I'll give you each a free card. With my Christic embodiment method, I'm making cards for that as well. So there'll be 50 in the deck because there's 50 gates, except for the last one will only have 30, although it might have some bonus cards in it because it would be the final deck. But it'll talk about each of the gates and how they are expressed across each of the energetic layers, the energetic bodies. There we go. All right, I have to pick these up. You don't get them all. Okay. You don't get them all. I'm going to ask them to be nicer. To be nicer. Only one. Only one. Maybe I should do, you know what? Maybe that's what it is. I was going to do those ones. Maybe it's time that I gave one of the Ethereum Tarot ones. All right. I was just centering myself. It's going to be coming eventually. I just have to figure out exactly where to print it. Like, I just have to look into all of that. I'm thinking about starting a Kickstarter campaign, but I need to print the deck professionally the first time before I can go into the Kickstarter, because I have to be able to show what the deck will actually, what the deck would look like. All right. But I'll get it eventually. I keep creating new decks too, because like it's like everything that all the information or education or knowledge that I learn and the stuff that I create, then I'm like, oh, that would make a great deck of cards, right? Like I see how it could be used as a tool. Oh yeah. Hi Priya. Okay, you got the 3 of ether. So this is divine teamwork, ascended co-creation, manifestation through higher realms, conscious expansion, alignment with universal forces. The 3 of ether is a call to create with the universe, not alone. Your highest visions are supported and are already manifesting in the quantum field. Trust the divine unfolding and watch miracles take shape. What are you manifesting right now? Good things, I hope, and I'm sure they're good things. You are always a great manifester. You just have to remember that. All righty, Myers. Can I get a good card for Myers, please? Perfect. Too many. Way too many. Way too many. Like the stack. Like a whole bunch, Meyer. Too many. I'm also like way far away from the desk for some reason. I kept pushing my chair back. All right. Well, that is hilarious. So I'm going to be nice, Myers. I'm going to be nice because, like, one, you're interactive with my content and you're interactive with my lives, and I appreciate you. So I'll give you them both, mostly because they're also 10-10. So, you know, the two 10s came together and said, kapitch. So here we are with 10-10. I'm going to wait a moment and make sure that you are in fact here before I continue. I normally don't leave my sweater on this long, guys. Okay, perfect. All right, so we got the 10 of air and the 10 of fire. The 10 of air is completion. Okay, this is surrender, the final lesson learned, release of old patterns. It's the light after darkness. The 10 of air is the death of an old identity, the breaking of an illusion, and the dawn of true clarity. This is not an end it is a rebirth. Surrender to the divine flow and trust that the light ahead is guiding you home. And then you have the 10 of fire. This is about overwork and stress. So this could be the cycle that's completing, is that part of you that was in that overwhelm. This is overburden, exhaustion, the need to delegate. So there may be somewhere in your life where you maybe give too much, or you need to just be more careful with the boundaries. Boundaries is definitely coming up for me. So the 10 of fire urges you to honor your limits and embrace transformation. It's time to shed the old weight and rise from the ashes anew. Hi, Sneha. How are you, love? So there's a rebirth that's happening, a shedding of these old identities. But like I said, just with this one here, there's that energy, there's that element of boundaries. And it's almost like I was saying when I started, right? When I went through my healing journey, and then I'm like, oh, I know what everybody needs to do to heal. I know how to heal your trauma. I know what you need to do. And I'm going to help my family too. And that's not the role that I was supposed to do. So I had to learn those boundaries. Nice to see you as well. All right. Who else wanted a card? Got a couple more, and then I got to head off because it's, Leslie. All right. Can I get a good card for Leslie? Can I get a good message? Just one. Be nice. Don't be giving a whole bunch of cards. It's in the stars. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Leslie, these two cards jammed together, and I did the same thing. I'm going to do that for you that I did for Myers. So I'm going to give you the both of them. They're very bright, lovely cards too. And what age of water. So it's really cool that you got 1010 and you got water, like the two water cards that are just celebrated by the 10, the one that's missing. The 9 of water is the wishes fulfilled card. And like this, all of this is just beautiful energy together. They're just about celebration, like celebrating the journey that how far you've come, what you've been through, acknowledging what you've been through, acknowledging how far you've come, acknowledging the things that you've overcame, right? Like that's a very powerful thing to do. And that 9 of water really is, like I said, it's that emotional bliss, it's wish fulfilled, it's contentment, it's that beautiful energy. And it usually means abundance too. It's not just exclusive to emotions. And then the page of water, that's where we have that emotional openness and newness, and where like the intuitive messages are flowing in. There's this playful energy, and this just really, creative inspiration that comes along. So this is just a soft energy that asks us to trust. And when we sit in that trust and embrace the joy, when we return to that, that's when things really start to flow to us with so much more ease, right? The heart always leads you to the most beautiful discoveries when you listen to the heart and follow it. Okay? That's the message. That's a message for you, Leslie. All right. Anyone else for a card? I don't have much time left. I have 11% on my phone. You're welcome. Love's the way, apparently. It truly is. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I think I'm going to call it then. And I'm going to head off, and I don't know what I'm going to do, but probably relax a little bit before it's like night time. It's 9:00 p.m., right? It's later for some of you guys. You're all the way in Ontario, so you're at 11. Ooh, are you ready for bed indeed? I know, right? It's bedtime. Night, night. All right, you guys have a great night. I'm back here on Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain or noon Eastern. We'll do the energy check-in, and then we're going to do return to center and the global meditation. Later, Tater. I like that one. Later, Gator. I could say like tomater. Love you, sweetheart. Yeah, so Saturday, and what I mean by return to center is that I like to check in with everybody and how they're experiencing what they're dealing with. And I do incorporate that within the meditation so that I help you guys return to center with whatever you're experiencing. And then we also do the global meditation, which is on peace, unity, love, and truth. We use sacred geometry, the flower of life, and Merkaba. And I don't know, I might introduce other things going forward, but that's what we start off with. So that's return to center, 10 a.m. Mountain or noon Eastern on Saturday, and then 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday evening for the celestial look ahead, see what's happening with the energies of the week. So you can be prepared with what you're going to deal with. And of course, we check in on the energies of the collective as well and hang out and have a rather good time. That's what I think anyway. All right. You guys have fun. I will see you guys on Saturday if you do choose to join me. Mwah. Love you guys. Have a great night. Later, taters. Or that might stick because of the DT, the tater tots. All right. Bye, guys. Oh, I got to pull up that one too. I have to shut them off in order because if I turn this one off,